The FBI, CIA potentially caught destroying classified evidence, files, servers, as Kash Patel is coming in to clean house. Journalist Michael Schellenberger first reported this last night. Here's his tweet. FBI whistleblower Go Bactual, who is, by the way, Garrett O'Boyle, confirmed to me that a source inside FBI said that FBI employees were destroying evidence on servers and that he informed Kash Patel. I hope that he and AG Bondi, John Ratcliffe, Elon Musk, Paulina Luna are preventing this. We urgently need disclosure on this. And then to which Congresswoman Luna then said there's a war happening right now inside the intelligence community. So what is going on here? They're destroying evidence. They're destroying servers. They're trying to hide their tracks on their way out. Chris Biota is a 25-year FBI veteran. He served as the chief of FBI science and technology programs, one of the top guys at the FBI. Here's his book, Wanted, The FBI I Once Knew, How to Restore Faith in the World's Premier Law Enforcement Agency. And Christopher joins us now to talk about this and what's happening inside the intelligence community right now. Chris, great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here.
So first, your reaction to hearing from these whistleblowers. I mean, Garrett O'Boyle was an FBI whistleblower, as you know, telling Michael Schellenberger that he has confirmed that there are FBI agents that are destroying servers, destroying evidence. What do you make of that at a high level, and what sort of evidence do you think that they're destroying?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that if true and accurate, it would be very disappointing to hear that the FBI culture has declined to that point. I need some more information on exactly what they were talking about as far as destroying servers and files, because FBI line personnel, I mean, rank and file FBI agents and professional support staff do not have access to those types of information technology equipment or to even electronically remove files for destruction. So I have to get a little bit more information in that. The FBI's information management and data systems, they're all fully auditable. They're all fully traceable, and they're discoverable for litigation purposes. So need a little bit more information to see about what possibly could be going on.
Right. This can't just be burning papers. It doesn't work like that. So we have to assume we have some sort of redundancy. But CNN piggybacked that report by saying that some people in intelligence, they named the CIA, but also possibly the FBI, could be motivated to take what they know to a foreign intelligence service. What does that mean? As if they would sabotage the rest of us and because they're disgruntled, or what would be in it for somebody to do that? What's the motivation?
Well, that's been a standing threat forever. Anytime you have disgruntled employees, people who are fired, people who leave the organization under some sort of negative circumstances, there's always a threat that they can go to an adversary or a competitor and they can offer their information, experience, knowledge, or maybe even access to third-party personnel who would cooperate. So it's always been a problem, and I think the intelligence community, law enforcement community, they police that the best they can, but it's not something that we can resolve once they're let go from the organizations.
Now you've had
wait, can I just clarify that point? So do you think CNN may be ratcheting this up as a fear, as a reaction to disgruntled employees because of Trump, when it has always been a fear? Is it perhaps that we're being manipulated by the media to think that this is because of Trump?
I think what you're seeing is maybe a little bit more highlighting on the issue now because of the mass firings across the government, and people are in fear for their jobs. And there's a lot of disgruntlement right now, which again creates that what people call the insider threat inside of organizations, where people with access to sensitive systems and information, once they're terminated and they leave with a bad feeling, they become highly recruitable by our adversaries.
So you're a 25-year FBI veteran. I imagine, and I'm speculating, that you maybe have talked to some individuals who are still at the FBI who are maybe, I don't know, nervous, or what are they seeing behind the scenes right now as Kash Patel has come in? We're hearing, Congresswoman Luna saying there's a war right now within the intelligence community. Is that accurate? What are you hearing from your sources at the FBI?
What I hear mainly is that there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of confusion. Folks don't know what's going on. I don't know if the messaging has been as good as it could have been on some of the activities, and telling people why certain things were happening. I think folks are left in the dark, and it's creating a lot of just anxiety, I guess is the best word. But I will say that, a war inside of the intelligence and law enforcement communities is probably not too far from being correct, because there are some ideological differences inside the organizations. We've seen over the past 4 years, the FBI has been involved in certain operations, investigations, and decisions that were seen as partisan. And I think that that's what the administration is concerned about right now, is that those pockets of people or groups of people still remain in the organizations, and they're still going to do things based upon ideological or personal politics.
Can we go back to the Michael Schellenberger piece here? Confirmed to me that a source inside FBI said FBI employees were destroying evidence on servers. A couple of people in our chat room are saying, well, are there backups of these servers? Like, and if it was like high-level individuals at the FBI destroying information on these servers, like what would this be? And are there backups that we would be able to trace all of this?
First of all, the high-level officials at the FBI wouldn't probably know how to do it. So that, I think you're safe there. But most of the FBI data systems are all backed up. They're all backed up.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, they're fully auditable and traceable. And one of the things that people forget is that you can make something more conspicuous by its absence. When you have serialized transactional information inside of the FBI's data systems and record management systems, and all of a sudden there are missing parts, pieces, there are missing serialized documents, there are missing case file entries, it just draws attention by its absence. So there's no way they can do it without drawing some sort of a review or some sort of scrutiny in doing so. And my question would be, if true and accurate, who ordered this? Because the rank and file folks aren't doing this type of stuff.
Right.
So we're all left to speculate, what is it they are destroying?
Right.
A week ago, Pam Bondi said she has the Epstein file on her desk. I assume it's not a printout. So I guess, would you like to join in speculating what you think it is that they would, in fact, hide? Would it be Epstein related? Would it be Diddy related? Or
JFK?
What I think, where my mind goes, is most likely a lot of them were led by the nose by the Biden administration to prosecute anything that was negative for conservatives. And they don't want those sort of marching orders. That's what I think. Do you want to ring in on any of that speculation and put forth your own?
You know what? I really wish that none of that was true, right? Because my former organization used to be one of the most trusted and revered in the federal government, and I sincerely hope that none of this is true, and maybe it was a misunderstanding of something that was going on. But I will say that there are people, when put under pressure, will do some pretty wild things to try to save themselves. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I would just like to think that it's improbable that the FBI, one of our primary arbiters of fidelity, bravery, and integrity, would be involved in that type of activity.
Right, because could they say, yes, I followed this lead, I violated this person's civil rights because he was a January 6er, because this was the appetite within the Bureau. I did this because this is my marching order. But now, is there that plausible deniability of any of the agents who may be accused of partisan prosecutions?
Well, first off, we have to remember the FBI does not prosecute anyone. The FBI conducts investigations. So the case provides it to the U.S. attorneys. They do the prosecutions. So one of the things I'd like to just highlight really quickly is that, DOJ, Department of Justice, asked for a list of people who were involved in the January 6th investigation. Reportedly the Bureau came back with about 5,000 names. Now, I'll give an example of how people are going to look at this. if I was an agent out in Oklahoma and I got a investigative lead sanctioned by FBI headquarters, approved by Department of Justice, and no objection from the White House, and I'm asked to go out and say verify a physical address, take down some license plate numbers, maybe do some physical surveillance, and report my results. I don't see anything. I may disagree. I may say, look, I don't think this is right, but it's not illegal. It's not, unsafe. Nobody's going to get hurt. I'm going to go out and cover the lead. I'm going to report my results in. Now I'm part of that 5,000 people. So I think what the department has to do is look at, was I a partisan actor? Was I doing this based upon my own personal ideology? Or did I follow an investigative lead objectively, do my job, report my information, and then move on? So that's right. What they're trying to figure out now.
One of the things that Stephen Friend, the FBI whistleblower, had said about January 6 prosecutions is he had cooperative witnesses. They were working with the FBI, inviting them into their homes for interviews, and then they would hear nothing for a year and then get a SWAT team at their house in the middle of the night. And so he says that the FBI needs to forfeit the cases where it violated people's civil rights. And so that, I think, is what I'm asking for is, do any of those agents have any kind of excuse where they say, but this is what I was told to do?
No, I think on some level, some of those agents may be excused from service, right?
Okay.
If they were out there doing some of those things based upon, again, political or personal ideologies, maybe the FBI isn't a place for them anymore. What I find is that the FBI leadership at the time sanctioned those operations, sanctioned those visits to people's homes with SWAT teams. And I'll tell you, when I was coming up in the FBI, when I was taught how to be an FBI agent by what I like to call the old breed of agents, that was frowned upon. We never did that type of thing. We never showed up to people's homes in, military web gear and M4 rifles and SWAT type of operations. That was considered to be kind of clumsy and ridiculous, and SWAT was only brought out as an exception. So I'm not sure where the FBI's thought process was on those types of visits. But I'll tell you this, I blame 100% the leadership of the FBI in marshaling those resources against people who were cooperative or they showed no threat. And, the FBI could have done other things to, bring them into the office or ask them to, surrender themselves. There were other ways to do it, but they chose not to.
Oh, thank you for that perspective. That's interesting. Did you have something else to say? Sorry.
Oh, no.
Well, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate that perspective because it's not one that we often get. So again, the book is Wanted, the FBI I Once Knew. And our guest has been Chris Piotta. We really appreciate your time, sir. Please come back on Redacted some other time.
Love to. Thank you very much.
If you own a home, did you know that any ne'er-do-well could go and put themselves on your home title without you knowing if you don't have a protection like home title lock? And then they can secure debt. They can sell their interest in your home. In fact, that's where the expression comes from. If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. It comes from when scammers used to sell their interest in the Brooklyn Bridge with a quick claim title. And they didn't have any interest in the Brooklyn Bridge. So if you are concerned about making sure that you have all of your interest in your home locked in, then you need to check out Home Title Lock because they are a fantastic way to just make sure you just pay a yearly amount and then they scan your title regularly to your home and let you know if there's any suspicious activity on your home title. So what you do is head on over to HometitleLock.com/redacted. Use our code redacted in your first 30 days of triple home lock title protection is free, and then you will be in a yearly plan. Again, this is something that Clayton and I check regularly to make sure that no one has pulled any fast ones on our family home. So again, it's HometitleLock.com/redacted and use our code redacted. One more time, it's HometitleLock.com/redacted. What's that again about how the people of Ukraine stand with Ukrainian President Zelensky? Guess what? That's propaganda. We've been telling you that all along and clearly not true as demonstrated on Monday by Ukrainian parliament when they failed to pass a resolution that Zelensky himself put forward to affirm the legitimacy of the presidency. So again, this was a stunt of his own making, designed to show the world that the country supports Zelensky. But 54 members of parliament abstained from voting, including 38 representatives from Zelensky's own political party. So this was embarrassing and a failed stunt. What a loser. Now, this tracks with what we showed you last week, that the so-called 57% support that Zelensky says he enjoys in Ukraine is a farce. Clayton found last week that the organization that put forward this 57% number is a Kiev institute that just so happens to be a partner of USAID and the United Nations and the WHO. Okay, well, today Russian President Putin said Zelensky would have no chance of winning re-election. This cannot be hard to believe, you guys. This is not a stretch of imagination. If you lived in Ukraine and you voted to support Zelensky in 2019 when he first came into office because he promised to end the civil war in eastern Ukraine, but then he went and turned it into a full-scale war with Russia, and all the military men that you know have either escaped the country miraculously or are dragged forcibly into the military, why would you support Zelensky? I ask you, why? Why would you support him now? So again, this is proof that when he says Ukrainian people really want me, all politicians love me, that's propaganda. Please, you can support him if you want, but don't do it because you think you're supporting the Ukrainian people. You're not. You'd only be doing it because you're some kind of Piers Morgan fan of Zelensky, which I cannot understand. Why Piers Morgan continues to just be so effusive and defensive about Zelensky as a person on X. If you really want to see something perplexing, follow Piers Morgan on X and try and figure that one out for yourself. It seems to me like some kind of man crush. I do not understand.
I don't understand either. Even Tucker destroyed him in that interview, and he still didn't back down. Even a few days later came out and was incredibly effusive.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. Liberals had a plan to win the election in 2024, hurl insults at Trump supporters. You know, if they don't support Harris and Waltz, call them Nazis, call them MAGA fascists, call them garbage. That one worked really well. Then Trump got a garbage truck and drove around, totally blew back in their face. The last one didn't work at all. And the top media personality who led this racist charge was a racist MSNBC host named Joy Reid. Reid loved to call pro-life Christian families fascists or call white Trump voters racist. This was her favorite pastime on her television show, and it's a shock that MSNBC now has canceled the show. Guess people aren't into that. The show was called The Reid Out. Well, Joy Reid is now out of a job at MSNBC because no one watched her terrible show to begin with. So she took to Zoom last night to cry about her show and how it really had value. It brought you so much value, and that's why she's crying about it. Watch.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I say this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them, or whether we've talked about.
So do you notice all the it's about me, we, I.
Like,
we.
I had to do it. I had to speak like this. And look, that's something that I can relate to when we get called a Putin apologist or what have you, then I understand how you might feel. I have to speak for the truth. The problem is that she showed that she was not willing to speak for the truth. When she was caught 2 years ago on a hot mic discussing the Biden administration's dealings with Russia. The bump went to break, and she said, trying to start another effing war about the Biden administration. That told me that she clearly knew that the Biden administration was starting wars. Another means she knew, she was studied enough to know this, but refused to speak out. So that's why this rings hollow to me. I have empathy. That must hurt, because there might be some part of her that has compartmentalized and believed that she was doing the right thing. The problem is she spoke differently on a hot mic. She refused to speak out for death. So that's why I feel empathy, but not all that much sympathy.
I have no empathy at all, and I have no sympathy at all for these warmongers who would denigrate people and calling them racist for the way that they're voting and trying to sway an election in such way. Rachel Maddow says her network is essentially racist. So Rachel Maddow went on the air last night, basically called MSNBC racist, because now Joy Reid's show is off. That means, well, she said we have no non-white hosts now in these time slots.
Michael, what's his face, is taking one of those spots, the former head of the Republican Party.
Michael Steele?
Michael Steele. Last time I checked, he's not white.
Oh, well, tell that to Rachel Maddow. Watch.
Okay.
An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid.
Okay. So Joy Reid is out.
Well, I was going to know if you guys saw, I read that she's getting replaced by a panel that have 2 blacks and a Latina. So
yes. Yeah, that's racist. What I was talking about, Michael Steele.
So that's racist.
Well, that's what Rachel Maddow said, is that the people who are keeping their jobs are not racial minorities, so that feels wrong. So those who have been replaced are only the minorities. Again, race grifting here.
Yeah.
And she's apologizing to us, I still have my job, probably because I'm white. I guess that's very self-denigrating.
Yeah, well, oh well. All right, let's talk about Obama's failed DEI library. So the Obama Presidential Center is an example of a DEI nightmare. Take a look at this headline.
Well, this story was trending on X, so we decided to look into it and read the litigation, and it's a doozy. This is what the Obama Center was supposed to look like when it's completed in Chicago. These are sketches. It's not actually built yet, but it has been delayed now, so it's a bit of a joke. Now the project managers are being sued for racial discrimination because, get this, the project itself, the contracts I'm about to show you, demanded diversity. Now the minority contractors are accusing the project managers of racism because they got behind on the job. They made this bed. So construction on the project was supposed to start in 2018, but it didn't really start until 2021. Part of that we can blame for the pandemic, but not as far back as 2018, clearly. Then they set a goal of completion by June of 2024. Didn't happen. Now they're saying maybe 2025, but that doesn't look likely. Look at the lawsuit that was filed last month against the project's engineers, Thornton Tomasetti. Now, this is the engineering firm that is being accused of racism. I'm going to show you the page of the contractor who is the lead engineer on this programming. He's a white guy. I have to say that, sadly, because race matters in this story and proves that when you prioritize race, it all goes to pot. So the concrete contractors are suing. They allege that they were super excited to take this job because, look, this was in their contract, that the owner had to, any contracting job that took this job on the Obama Center, had to be committed to maintaining an environment of diversity. You had to hire diverse. You had to have a commitment to diversity. Even if you're a concrete a concrete layer. That was in the job description. But what they say later is that when they were actually pushed to complete the job, not just stand there as a racial minority, but actually then do the job, they couldn't because they didn't have the workforce. They admitted such in their own complaint. This was a $92 million job. And they say here that they could not find the workforce to meet these diversity goals. So when they went back to the engineer and said that their costs were up and they asked for more money, the firm told them no. And then when the firm provided an update on the project to the Obama Foundation, they blamed the concrete contractors and they said, well, obviously we're being blamed because we're black. And the engineer said a more experienced firm could have done this, but we hired the diverse firm and that put us behind. And they're saying that's racism. They're saying you're indicating that a white-led firm would have done better. Here's, according to that update, they said, this is the engineer saying that the engineers bent over backwards to assist what everyone knows was a questionably qualified subcontractor team in areas where a more qualified subcontractor would not have required it. What they're saying is, you told us to just hire people based on their skin color. We did that instead of hiring them based on their experience. Now our project's behind. So now the plaintiffs are saying, look, you said this and it's clear racism because that is an obvious implication that the minority-owned members of the concrete company were not sufficiently qualified to perform the work, and that one or more of the minority-owned firms were the true cause of the delays. So what they're saying, I mean, obviously, there was no racial influence. The engineer's saying we probably should have gone with a more experienced firm. And because they hired based on skin color, they're saying racism. So they have to be wondering, what if we hadn't committed to a diverse workforce? What if we had just not vetted people for their sexuality or skin color, but actually their experience, and looked at their bids and see who was the most qualified, who could do it the fastest and the best, stay on time, stay on budget? They were not allowed to do that. Bigger question, will other contractors learn to stay away from a project if it has diversity goals? Do not touch it, because you'll get sued for being a racist if you want the work to actually be done. It's kind of crazy. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's insane, but not surprising. You reap what you sow.